Before we go to the next witness, I want to read two paragraphs from a Washington Post story that was just posted online. A congressional hearing to explore the spread of white nationalism on social media, meaning this hearing, quickly served to illustrate the problem Silicon Valley faces after anonymous users on YouTube began posting vitriolic attacks that targeted others on the basis of race and religion. The hearing held by the House Judiciary Committee was streamed live on the video site owned by Google, which is testifying Tuesday. Alongside the stream, a live chat featured posts from users, some of whom published anti-Semitic screeds and argued that white nationalism is not a form of racism. These Jews want to destroy all white nations, wrote, we won't put in the name. Anti-hate is a code word for anti-white, wrote another, etc. So this just illustrates part of the problem we're dealing with.
Could that be a hate hoax?
What?
Could that be another hate hoax? Just keep an open mind.
Well, I know is what I just read. The gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I ask unanimous consent to include in the record a list of political violence perpetrated or promoted by leftist organizations.
Without objection.
Thank you. And I also, I'm riffing on something that Mr. Buck, gentleman from Colorado, was talking about. But in the listing of witnesses in the chairman's memo, it did something I've not seen in my brief time in Congress, or indeed in my many years of legislative service in my home state. That is an editorial comment about a witness. Some might even consider that this not so subtle editorializing is in and of itself an indicia of animus. It's unfortunate, but it demonstrates how easy it is to let one's bias appear even in what is supposed to be an innocuous listing of witnesses for this hearing.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, I will yield, sir.
I assume you're referring to what is written about Candace Owens, where it says she's a director of communications at the conservative advocacy group Turning Point USA and a conservative commentator and political activist known for her criticism of Black Lives Matters and of the Democratic Party. I don't think she could quarrel with the accuracy of that. It's a simple statement of who she is.
Reclaiming my time. What I will say about this is you never, ever see anybody characterized in any other list of witnesses. This is the first time I've ever seen that, other than the stating what they represent or the group that they are from. This is seemingly anyway, going beyond the bounds of what is the norm. That is an indication to me of how easy it is to demonstrate animus. And so it means, for a logical question of Ms. Owens, which she's already addressed to some respect, is, as you talk, Ms. Owens, and you go to universities, like I'm going to UConn tonight, do you receive hate speech directed at you?
All the time, and I really do feel that the media on the left has made it okay. And I do just want to add that my biography, which I submitted, you reduced it to one sentence, calling me just a conservative activist, and it wasn't what I said or what I submitted to your office last night. And I just think that you opened with anti-black bias, and I see it coming from the chairman today.
And Ms. Owens, these efforts to shut you down when you speak publicly on issues that you care about under the protection of the First Amendment, are they peaceful?
No, they're really scary. They threaten us online perpetually. I receive threatening letters to my home when the media drums up narratives and pretends that I hate black people or that I hate gays or that I hate Muslims, with no evidence supporting any of those claims. What they're inviting is for people to think it's okay to be violent towards me when they see me. They want to make it an act of virtue for people to be violent towards black conservatives that are outspoken.
And there are, on occasion, false accusations and staged hate crimes. What impact do those have on actual, real hate crimes?
It makes it harder, I think, for people to come forward or for people to believe it. I don't see enough condemning of what Jussie Smollett did to this nation in terms of tearing us apart and causing a debate. And obviously the left was quick to believe him and put him on a platform despite absolutely no evidence. And it just makes it harder. Again, it just makes it harder for us to come together as a nation, which I think is what the president is trying to do, bring everybody together.
And Ms. Owens, are you familiar with the case of Isabella Chow, who is a UC Berkeley senator who was harassed because of a position she took?
I'm not.
Well, Ms. Chow took a position of basically abstaining from a vote due to religious concerns and was harassed out of her position, and she was hate speech galore, all arising and going forward. So it isn't that there isn't hate speech. It's that we need to condemn all hate speech.
That's
thoughts?
correct. I definitely agree. We need to condemn all hate speech. There's only one type of hate speech like that they like to talk about and give a platform to. There is a double standard in this country, and that double standard, I think, is being felt the most by black conservatives, the Jewish community, and Christians.
And so, Mr. Klein, thank you, Ms. Owens. Mr. Klein, you remember the chairman agreeing to give you an extra 30 seconds because of the interruption that you experienced during your opening statement. And then do you remember being gavelled down by the chairman once you began speaking of the anti-Semitic remarks by a member of Congress? And we've just timed this. You only got 12 seconds. I have 30 seconds left, and so I'm going to give you those 30 seconds that you were promised and were denied.
Well, I am deeply pained that after a congresswoman from Minnesota called Israel evil, hypnotized the world, Israel's an apartheid state, Jews use their money to promote what they want out of Congress, that this woman was defended by leaders of her party, defended by at least 3 members of her party who are running for president, with no consequence. She should have been removed from all of her committees just the way Stephen King was for this unbelievable outburst of hatred toward Jewish people. In fact, there's actually a member of this very committee who publicly called Jews termites of this committee, and there was no consequence to that outrageous statement. So this is really frightening to me, especially as a child of Holocaust survivors. If there's not consequence to this type of hate speech against Jews, you're only going to get more of it. We're only going to embolden people to continue this, and ultimately, hate speech turns into physical violence. That's been true throughout Jewish history, and that really frightens me.
Back when we first reached out to him, he wasn't as big as he is now, but we thought he had some great ideas. He had a great way of delivering them, and the RCU's ideas aligned greatly with Turning Point and Charlie's ideas, so it seemed like a good fit.
For any of you guys who follow me, I hate the Me Too movement. I'm very vocal and against it.
China, who are born in poverty, you're probably going to end up in poverty. America is different because of our embrace of economic freedom, private property rights, individual initiative. That Candace is a living embodiment that a couple generations ago, her grandfather in the South was working on a sharecropping farm.
He would mention the KKK and how they would shoot into his home. And what's really funny is my grandfather was never a victim. So he literally, when he tells those stories, says things like, and my daddy used to shoot back at them boys. He was always a winner, championing the things that he went through. And my dad used to always say growing up, if you believe that you can't, you certainly won't. If you believe that you can, you most definitely will. And that's really what I go around telling people, and somehow that's considered controversial.
The left right now, they're so focused on identity politics. Candace is not allowed to think what she thinks, right, Candace? They say, Candace, how dare you as a black woman say good things about Donald Trump or about America?
You are, because of how you look, rather than who you actually are, that determines where you're supposed to align yourself. But they touch on why that is an issue and why you need to define yourself, do your own research, and think on your own.
I actually think that although I don't agree with a lot of your views, that your views are essential to be heard, and I think that it's important for all political parties to sit down and have an intellectual conversation. Organizations like the Turning Point USA has created professor watch lists that list names of instructors and educational institutions of professors who teach harmful, insane ideologies, as Bill O'Reilly has stated. In creating professor watch lists, are you not coercing professors to use approved language, topics of discussion, and essentially supporting political correctness for your side?
Well, if they're so worried about what they want, what they're saying be made public, maybe they should be worried about what they're saying. How many of you in this room have been graded differently because you're a conservative?
The question for you is, why does the left continue to support race-based affirmative action when it's blatantly racist and discriminatory?
A study was conducted, for those of you that follow Dr. Thomas Sowell, who showed that it actually is net negative impact on the people that benefit from it, using that term loosely.
According to a Brookings Institute study, we rank lower than several countries, including, say, Norway, Sweden, Canada, as far as social mobility goes. Like people born when their parents are in the bottom 1/5 of the income income, they are much more likely in America than these countries to end up themselves in the bottom 1/5 of the income. So just wondering, since these countries are more socialized in general, how do you account for that discrepancy?
The Brookings Institution, which is a center-left think tank, identified if you make 3 choices, what you can do to break out of that bottom 20%. Those 3 choices are to get married before you have kids, graduate high school, and get a job, any job.
My quick question to you, Candace, is would you ever consider running for president?
I say no to that question, but I've decided to update it and say what Trump said 20 years ago, which is that if my country needed me, I would step up to the plate, I would run, and I would win.